Microphone check 1 2. Hey family, this is Jonathan Soul coming at you with another commentary. I'm going to be talking about politics and comics, two subjects that are near and dear to me, come together in a groovy little sandwich. Ooh, god damn. Sorry about that. I saw someone distracted me. Anyway, yeah, family. So, politics and comics. If there's anything that is getting more politicized nowadays in terms of art, it's definitely comics. And good morning. And one thing that I noticed, all of us who are fans of comics and sci-fi, we're familiar with Justice League animation and Justice League Unlimited, which is my favorite. Familiar with what DC and Marvel is doing. Me, I focus on independent black comics. Independent black comics. Because we need to tell our story, fictional and otherwise. And we need to preserve it for posterity. And African Americans in particular, and I'm sure Africans in general, need to propagandize their art. So, politics and comics. Usually when you look at like the white comics, DC and Marvel, you see a couple of common themes, and again, it depends on, the times and what's the culture. When, Stan Lee and Jack Kirby came out with X-Men, even though the Black Panther character was invented, I think maybe either it was like a couple months before or after, it still had a political, cultural component to it. They say that Professor X and wasn't Malcolm, and Martin Luther King wasn't. I'm sorry, Magneto wasn't Malcolm, and Professor X wasn't Martin Luther King. But we know that's bullshit. Even if they didn't do it intentionally, they were just reflecting the zeitgeist of the times. Then you got in the 80s, there was this one panel, I think, when Superman was talking about, getting rid of his citizenship or something, or not liking what America was standing for, I think because of the wars or something. And then, remember, for the older cats, when Green Lantern and Green Arrow were starting to deal with some social stuff. I think there was a panel with this little black boy was talking about you're going to the distant planets to fight for aliens, but what about the black kids in the city? I think he said it to Green Arrow, if I get that right, or maybe it was Green Lantern, John Stewart. So, without going on, you get the idea that, definitely the comics can be political. Shit, even the artists, when Occupy Wall Street was the thing in the news, Frank Miller, if I recall correctly, had some, I would say, some harsh criticism of those guys. It might have had something to do with, get a job, get a shower or something. I can't remember per se. But it didn't sound like he was a fan. So, long story short, we can't say that comics aren't political. When it comes to the black indie comics, I put them in three categories. One are all of them have action and different things and the sci-fi element, so that's a given. So one, there are comics that are, I would say, apolitical, right? Those tend to be the manga that I've seen. I'm talking about the ones that I've been exposed to. The manga, that make, be inspired by Japanese manga. Those are the comics where, there might be on an alien planet or something, or, they might just, trying to think, there's this one book, let's see. So some of the books that come to mind, say, might be Power Knights. Power Knights, love the book. Alien warriors come to Earth, and they're kind of, fighting against each other or whatever, and humans kind of get caught up in the crossfire. Say another book like, let me see, I would say Willpower, and this is just off the top of my head, Willpower. Again, superpowered beings fighting the bad guys, the idea of what we consider traditional comics. And those are groovy, those are very entertaining. And they usually, if anything, have a moral message, truth, justice, and, that kind of thing. Fine. That's the apolitical books. And apolitical books are wonderful. Then I would say you have the political books. Political books aren't strictly political, but they have a very clear, salient political or social message. For example, in my opinion, Purge. Purge has especially, there's one panel where two characters are talking about buying up property so that they can control the politics in the neighborhood. There's another panel where the AI flashes a copy of the Black Extremist Memorandum, the Black Identity Extremist Memorandum. Those are, and there's another panel in Purge 1, the recent one anyway, where, it shows children are being abducted, how some of the cops are very racist. And there's one cop, he has he was chasing a kid, knocked him out, I think with the butt of his gun or something. He's reaching down to grab him, and there's a Confederate flag tattoo on his arm. Very political, very socially conscious. Yet at the same time, if you're not tuned into that, you might not even notice it. All you might notice is bangs that pow and very good storytelling. So that would be the political comics. Another version of these things is what I call aspirational. So you got apolitical, bangs that pow, and then you got aspirational, meaning kind of something you kind of want to look forward to, or something along those lines. And so that would be, and then some comics fall into more than one category, but for simplicity's sake, I would say something like the books that Paul Louis Julie's coming out with, Yohance, where you have like a African space kind of vibration, but it doesn't have those colonial influences. I would say, I don't know. There's a conversation I had with Machindo. He's coming out with a book, and I can't remember the name. Machindo has a very creative name for his characters, but there's a book coming out like that. I think Purge at times, because the city that is like the metropolis of this universe is called New Salem in North Carolina, and it's like a high-tech city. And one of the city fathers is like this guy, wealthy industrialist or whatever, and he helps the city out and da da da. So that's kind of aspirational, in a sense. There is one more comic that I forgot to mention. That's kind of political, but more on a social tip. It's actually a webcomic, and it's called Monsters. Is it Monsters of Crescent City or Crescent City Monsters? And by memory. Come on, memory. Don't carry me like that. But anyway, the brother is a brilliant brother. I interviewed him a little while ago, and the main character is kind of like he's a blues musician, a jazz musician, and a sorcerer at the same time. But he has, because it's kind of written in like the 50s, blues like the 50s. They're fighting the whole segregation, all kind of stuff. But the band talks about freedom and standing up for yourself and everything, and the character stands up for himself. He doesn't just interlock his fingers and submit when the cop rolls up on him. So, to me, that's a political statement. In America, if you're black or brown and you actually defend yourself, that's political. That's not human nature. It is, but they try to dehumanize us in this culture. So, whether it's apolitical, whether it's aspirational, another one that you could kind of put in the aspirational slash political, of course, is Brotherman. Brotherman, the original comic book series, which I have almost all of them, to me, was very aspirational and political, cultural political, meaning you had a brother who didn't have any superpowers, but he just had and his parents weren't killed in the alley or anything like that, but he just had a desire to make his city a better place. So that's the political piece, right? And they hinted at different issues because it wasn't preachy, but good morning. They hinted at different issues like corruption in government and gentrification. How you doing, sir? Gentrification and stuff along those lines. But then on the flip side, in terms of aspirational, it was all black people. The city, the villains, the heroes, everybody. It was all black people. And they were working together. And it was just so beautiful, He took a decaying urban landscape and changed it into something so groovy that it was just a beautiful thing to behold. And of course, with the new book, Brotherman Revelations, you really see the socially conscious and politically aware component of the big city, Brotherman universe. I'm of the firm opinion, that African American people in particular need art that propagandizes us. Propagandizes us in this direction. One is that we are a great people. Not everybody that came into the furnace of America survived. Let's just be perfectly frank. Not everybody, not only have we survived, but we've been able to carve out, a valuable piece of political power. We're trying to be tricked into giving it all up by focusing on other issues that don't concern us necessarily. But, there's always a core of African American people that are informed, conscious, woke, whatever the trendy term is nowadays. Maybe the better term is enlightened self-interest or informed self-interest. Anyway, we need more political and, aspirational comics. The entertainment ones are wonderful, and they'll have that crossover appeal, Just like I heard our brother say the other day when he went to the theater to see Black Panther for the first time, and it was like a mixed crowd. As soon as is it Njari, Killmonger's father, started talking about they're over-policed, the guns, white people, a lot of white people got up and walked out. Some of those political comics and aspirational is going to offend some people, but they was never with you anyway. If something is quality, it's going to draw a crowd. We need more political and aspirational kinds of comics, sci-fi. We need to paint a future for our folks so that they have something to push forward to. We can't just leave it to Gene Roddenberry. All right, family, Jonathan Soul, jonathansoul.com. Love you guys. Check out jonathansoul.com for interviews with artists and writers and some groovy comic book reviews. And obviously this political stuff. Nobody's two-dimensional up in here. Love you guys. Peace.